I quickly want to forewarn anyone before this video begins. I am going to be talking about some pretty sensitive stuff, so I will say that now. If you're someone that doesn't really cope well with sensitive stuff, then I suggest you maybe not watch this one. Though if you're someone who can cope with it pretty well, then feel free to watch it, I guess. And this video probably isn't going to be edited well, because this is just a video I want to throw out there, that I just want to throw out and not really put that much effort into. I just want to make people aware of things, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, you guys have probably read the title. Mental health. Let's talk about it, shall we? And how mental health is a thing that people should actually be taking a lot more seriously. And I just kind of want to talk about my experiences, the impact it's had on my mental health, the current state of my mental health at the moment, and hopefully give advice to people that are in the same situation as me, maybe people that are struggling, or people that have struggled with other similar things to what I've struggled with. So I will make this clear. I know mental health is a thing that most people will go through, but there are some factors that can amplify some of the things that relate to your mental health. For example, in my instance, I actually suffer with quite a few mental disabilities, those being depression, PTSD, social anxiety, and Asperger's. Now, that last one doesn't really have an impact on my mental health. It just kinda exists, but it does change the way certain things gets perceived in my mind. To anyone know what Asperger's is, or autism, which I'm basically going to call it for the remainder of the video, they will know some of the struggles that people with autism have, and obviously I experience some of them on the day-to-day, because obviously that is a mental disability I was born with. Though the other three that I mentioned are stuff that I have acquired that have kind of been linked to my mental health, for the lack of a better word. I got PTSD through initially having depression, through also then that stemmed to social anxiety, and I kind of want to talk about the things that led to this so people get an understanding of what can impact people's mental health and kind of just how to deal with them, if you get what I mean. So let's talk about how I ended up getting depression first, as that was the first big thing that I got that then kind of spiraled into the PTSD and the social anxiety. So I would say my life was pretty normal up until the point where I was actually diagnosed with Asperger's, which was around when I was about 10 years old. My family tried to keep it on the down low. We didn't really want to tell that many people because of, the fears of this stuff could lead to a certain thing I'm going to mention in a minute. But I was diagnosed in my last year of primary school, so then going into secondary school, I thought, hey, it would be chill if I just told people that I suffer with this, and then people will be chill around me. They'll understand why, I kind of act different to everyone else. If anything, that was the worst possible thing I could have done. This literally led to me being bullied for the entirety of secondary school. Literally once a week I was getting into arguments with the people that were bullying me, and it was really taking a toll on my mental health, which eventually this kind of led into one of the key factors of me being diagnosed with a form of depression. Because these people were constantly harassing me and constantly bullying me, this just led to me just feeling worthless, feeling like shit, and just not being in the right frame of mind. And that's just a general thing that bullying can cause. But obviously being bullied has a bunch of these negative effects. So basically, through year 7 to year 10, because it kind of quieted down in year 11 a little bit, literally, I dreaded going to school literally every single day, because I knew I was going to be targeted and I was going to be bullied. And it wasn't physically bullied, I will say that now, but it was mentally bullied. But I will argue that being mentally bullied and being physically bullied are basically on the same level. Because, yeah, people can talk about the physical impact of bullying, but not many people will talk about the mental impact of bullying. Like, the shit that can cause, the things that can do to your psyche, like it did to mine. It's really, really hard to kind of deal with, if you get what I mean. And that's just kind of the environment of secondary school. Like, schooling in general in England and probably across the world, if you're, like, targeted for being bullied, barely anyone will stick up for you. I was lucky enough to have, eventually, a few of my friends actually stick up for me when I started making more friends in secondary school. But that didn't stop the problem. And I know what people are going to say. Can't you just get the adults to help? No. Like, no. Schools are very much afraid of dealing with bullies because of the reputation it kind of gives them if someone's being bullied. The only real way to get bullying to stop, and in my case, this is what I had to resort to, I actually had to physically hurt them. Obviously, it was in self-defense, because I kind of egged them on to hurt me, but actually having to physically hurt them, and what kind of made it worse in my eyes is all of the bullies, well, the majority of them, about 75% of the ones that bullied me, were just one single group of girls. And once I dealt with one of them, the next one would step in. And it was like that up until year 10. Until year 11, none of them just didn't decide to start on me anymore. And the inherent issue with that is that when you have to resort to violence to stop a problem, that's the problem in and of itself. So that ended up meaning that people were calling me a girl beater at secondary school, which even, like, led to basically everyone in my year group, barely anyone wanted to come with me, because when you're bullied, no one wants to sympathize with the victim that is being bullied. And I was lucky enough to have a really good support system at school that those kind of bullying issues were kind of helped through the support system, though I know obviously other people won't have that, but most schools do not give a shit about bullies. They'll just let it happen because of the reputation it can have towards the school. So usually violence is the only way to end it, but even then, teachers will then start to intervene and they won't do anything about the bully. 9 times out of 10, it's the bully victim that will be the one that gets the punishment, which is kind of what happened in my place. So that was one of the things that caused me to get depression. And now we talk about the big thing. Now, this is something I've wanted to kind of make public for a while now, and all my close friends know, most people do know at this point, though I feel like saying this to a wider audience will kind of give people an understanding of some of the shit that I have been through and some of the shit that other people have been through. When I was in year 9, I was around the age of, I think, 14 at the time. A family friend that we thought we could trust essentially sexually assaulted me. That's basically what happened. I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty details of it, because obviously I know that stuff can be pretty triggering for some people, but that's basically what happened. I was sexually assaulted at the age of 14. And that kind of amplified the depression I was already going through from being bullied at secondary school. And then that kind of what spiraled into me getting PTSD and social anxiety, because after that point, I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to leave the school. Didn't want to go to school, purely because I just had this overwhelming amount of anxiety that was just kind of weighing down on me to the point where I couldn't cope. And honestly speaking, I still kind of have that anxiety to this day. I still get very nervous when I go like into town or I go out and about all on my own, because I'm worried something similar could happen again. I know it's very unlikely that it could, but at the same time, those doubts do very much linger, and that obviously causes PTSD, and I'm still traumatized by these events to this day. Like, I'm struggling to talk about them now, so this is a hard video for me to make, but I just want people to understand. And we did press charges on the person that sexually assaulted me, but what kind of made the situation worse is that when the situation was took to court, he got away with it scot-free. The verdict was a not guilty verdict, and I've never seen this person again, but basically they got away scot-free, and that kind of left to a lot more resentment. It left to my depression growing even more, the anxiety getting worse, because then it felt like not even my own family, like, as much as they believed in me, it just felt like the entire world saw me as a liar, basically. When you go from that situation where you've experienced something like being sexually harassed, only for the abuser to basically get away scot-free, it kind of fucks with you. It, like, fucks with you on a massive level, and it just kind of makes you feel like... Nope, hello, phone. It just kind of makes you feel like you just don't have a place in the world anymore, and that's essentially what happened with me. And this led to me feeling suicidal, and when every October, around that time, I start getting very nervy, this coming back to the PTSD and the social anxiety, because that was the month I was sexually harassed in. And it doesn't help that I've had a lot of other awful shit happen in October as well, so October is generally, like, a really rough month for me, but it's just kind of, when you go through all of that, only for someone to get away with it, it just makes you hate the world, it makes you hate yourself, and this leads to me having suicidal thoughts, and my mental health kind of just having a massive downfall. And honestly speaking, I will be honest, my mental health has never really recovered from those events, due to the fact that the massive impact these events can have on people. So just mental health is something that I want people to take more seriously, and I don't think many people do. And that's just the general annoyance and the general issue that I kind of have, if you get what I mean, that not many people care nowadays. And when you've been in those kind of situations, and I've talked to people that have been in very similar situations to what I've been in, it just kind of eats at you to the point where you do have these thoughts, these suicidal thoughts, these thoughts that everything would be good without you, that nobody wants you around, that, like, you're not worth anything, that you're worthless and stuff. Like, you generally start to have these kind of emotions, and these conflicting emotions, they fuck with you, dude. They genuinely fuck with you to a point where you don't even know what you're thinking anymore. You can't even think straight, and then it just kind of leads into stuff that are completely out of your control, and it just kind of spirals downhill till you're at your lowest. Now, I was fortunate enough to recently seek out counselling for most of the issues that I've had, and obviously the counselor that I had, she was absolutely wonderful. She was absolutely amazing. She helped me so well. But even after that, obviously, you will never fully recover from events like this. And it is something that people need to realize, that traumatic shit really does take a lot to kind of recover from and kind of get over. And that's why I want to kind of dedicate myself to helping people that have kind of gone through a similar situation to me. So if you've watched this far in the video and you've kind of having the same struggles with your mental health, please reach out to me in either the comments or on Twitter, because I want to help. I know that's not really the best thing to probably say, but I want to help people. I just want to make sure that no one has to feel the kind of shit that I had to feel, because that shit, it eats on you, and it just keeps eating away until there's nothing left. So if anyone is struggling with these issues, please reach out to me. And I hope to everyone that has watched this far in the video and has actually watched the full thing, if you have watched the full thing, I just want to thank you so much for listening to me ramble for this long. And I want to say, I guess I'll see you in the next video whenever that's out. I've got my new computer arriving in a week, so I'm going to be recording a lot more, streaming a lot more when that arrives. Yeah, I'll see you guys later, and stay safe, guys. Stay awesome.